It's often said that the greatest journey you can embark on is the journey within yourself. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, whether it's through the hustle of daily life, the opinions of others, or the ceaseless flow of information coming at us from all directions. Yet, in all this external noise, one of the most powerful acts we can commit to is focusing on ourselves. It sounds simple, but in reality it's a profound and ongoing practice. To truly focus on yourself, to engage in the deep work of self-awareness, is to begin to understand who you are, what you stand for, and where you are heading. This is the foundation for personal growth, and the essence of why focusing on yourself is such a crucial part of leading a fulfilling life. Self-awareness is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process, an unfolding of layers that requires both patience and honesty. The first step in cultivating this awareness is the willingness to spend time with yourself. Really spend time with yourself. It means stepping away from the distractions of everyday life, from the obligations, from the noise, and just being present with your own thoughts and feelings. In the quiet moments, without the input of others, you begin to hear your own voice separate from all the external influences. You begin to notice what excites you, what drains you, what sparks your curiosity, and what fills you with dread. These are the clues that guide you toward a deeper understanding of who you are. But self-awareness isn't just about identifying your likes and dislikes. It's about acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses with honesty and compassion. We all have parts of ourselves we'd rather not confront, the habits, the fears, the insecurities that we tend to avoid. Yet when we focus on ourselves with genuine curiosity and without judgment, we can face these aspects of ourselves not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. These challenges, when understood, can transform from sources of frustration into pathways that guide us to become more whole. It's in these moments of honesty that personal growth begins to take root. Self-awareness also helps you to recognize your patterns, your triggers, and the ways you've been conditioned over the years. Often we are not conscious of how deeply certain beliefs, formed in childhood or through past experiences, shape our behaviors and decisions. When we begin to pay attention, we see how these patterns play out in our relationships, our careers, and even in how we view ourselves. Focusing on yourself allows you to uncover these unconscious habits and thought processes, empowering you to break free from them and choose more aligned actions in your life. Another crucial element of self-awareness is understanding your emotions. We all have emotional responses, and often we react without fully grasping why we're feeling the way we do. It's easy to dismiss emotions as fleeting or irrational, but in truth, they are valuable indicators of our inner landscape. They tell us something about our needs, our desires, and our fears. When we take the time to listen to our emotions and explore them without judgment, we begin to gain insight into the deeper aspects of our psyche. This understanding of ourselves allows us to respond to situations more consciously, rather than being swept away by reactive patterns. It's also worth noting that focusing on yourself is not a selfish or narcissistic act. In fact, it's the opposite. The more deeply you understand and care for yourself, the more you are able to show up for others in an authentic and compassionate way. You cannot give what you don't have. So when you focus on cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness, you are ultimately improving your ability to connect with others. This doesn't mean you shut others out or become isolated, but it means that you are coming from a place of clarity and understanding when you interact with the world. You are more present, more empathetic, and more capable of offering support because you have done the inner work to know your own mind and heart. As you continue to cultivate self-awareness, you start to notice changes in the way you approach life. You become more intentional in your actions and decisions. You stop reacting out of habit or fear, and start choosing what aligns with your true values and desires. Focusing on yourself means taking ownership of your life, not letting external circumstances or the expectations of others dictate your path. It means becoming your own source of validation, rather than constantly seeking approval from others. The more you understand who you are, the less likely you are to be swayed by the opinions of others or the external pressures that often try to define us. This journey of focusing on yourself, though, isn't always comfortable. There will be moments of discomfort and uncertainty as you face aspects of yourself that you've avoided for years. But it's in these moments that you find the greatest potential for growth. True transformation requires the courage to look at the parts of yourself that are hard to see, and to embrace them with compassion. These are the moments when the deepest changes occur, not through force, but through understanding and acceptance. One of the most profound benefits of focusing on yourself is that it gives you the clarity to set meaningful goals and pursue them with purpose. When you know who you are and what you truly want, you can direct your energy and efforts in ways that align with your authentic self. Instead of chasing after things that society or others have told you are important, you begin to chart your own course. You become less distracted by superficial desires and more focused on what truly brings you fulfillment. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter and start investing your energy in what does. As you move forward in your life, this self-awareness will continue to evolve. It's not a one-time task, but an ongoing process. The more you focus on yourself, the more layers you'll uncover, and the more you'll learn about what truly matters to you. It's a continuous cycle of growth, reflection, and change. The more you know yourself, the better equipped you are to navigate the complexities of life with resilience and grace. So, focusing on yourself is not just about getting in touch with who you are in the present moment. It's also about preparing yourself for the future. It's about creating a solid foundation upon which you can build the life you truly want. And this foundation is built on self-awareness, on the understanding that, ultimately, you are the one who holds the key to your happiness, growth, and success. In the quiet moments, reflection, in the stillness of your thoughts, you'll find the answers to the questions that have been lingering in your mind. The more you focus on yourself, the more clearly you'll see the path ahead. And as you walk that path with intention and understanding, you'll find that life becomes not only clearer but more purposeful. So embrace the journey inward. Let it guide you toward the person you are meant to become. In a world that never stops talking, where we are constantly bombarded with opinions, ideas, and noise, silence may seem like a rare and even uncomfortable commodity. Yet, there is a profound power in silence, a quiet strength that allows us to truly listen, reflect, and connect with ourselves in ways that words often fail to express. To embrace silence is not merely to retreat from the noise of the world, but to create a space where we can hear our own thoughts more clearly, where we can access the depths of our inner world and gain clarity that eludes us in the chaos of everyday life. It's easy to forget the value of silence in a world that rewards constant activity and conversation. We live in a society where busyness is often seen as a virtue, where to be constantly on the move, constantly talking, constantly doing, is considered a sign of productivity and success. Yet in this rush, we often overlook the power of stillness, the quiet moments where we can hear the whispers of our true desires, our deepest thoughts, and our most authentic selves. Silence allows us to step away from the noise and truly connect with the essence of who we are. It is only in the stillness that we can hear the truth that lies beneath the surface of our daily distractions. This silence is not something to fear or avoid. It is a space where our mind can reset, where our emotions can settle, and where our hearts can finally speak without the interference of outside voices. In the rush to fill every moment with sound, we have lost the ability to simply be. We've become accustomed to filling our time with chatter, with distractions, with the constant hum of the world around us. But it is in the absence of sound that we find the space to reflect, to make sense of our experiences, and to come to terms with our inner truth. In silence, we are not forced to react to the demands and expectations of others. We are no longer swayed by the constant pull of external validation, and instead, we turn inward to find what truly matters to us. The quiet allows us to shed the layers of societal influence, the voices of others, and the noise of the world, so that we can listen to what is truly important in our lives. It is only when we stop talking, stop seeking the approval of others, that we can truly hear what our soul is calling for. What is remarkable about silence is that it does not demand anything of us. It is not a space where we are expected to perform, to entertain, or to achieve. In silence, we can simply exist. We can allow ourselves to be without judgment or expectation. This kind of silence is not about shutting down or retreating from the world. It's about creating the space to reconnect with our innermost selves, to sift through the noise and find the clarity we need to move forward. There's a certain wisdom that emerges when we embrace silence, one that can only come through stillness. When we stop filling every moment with words, when we give ourselves permission to sit in quiet reflection, we begin to hear the truths that have been buried beneath the surface of our busy lives. Often, the answers to the questions we've been asking ourselves are not found in loud conversations or external sources of knowledge. They are found within us, waiting for the right moment of stillness to emerge. Silence creates the space for those answers to surface. It is also in silence that we find the strength to be present with ourselves. Life can be overwhelming, and when we are constantly caught up in the noise of the world, it's easy to lose sight of our own needs, desires, and feelings. Silence allows us to slow down and check in with ourselves. It allows us to assess where we are, how we're feeling, and what we truly want. We often spend so much time reacting to what is happening around us that we forget to pause and ask, what do I really need right now? Silence creates the opportunity to ask that question, and more importantly, to listen to the answer. By choosing silence, we also make space for deeper reflection and insight. Our thoughts, our dreams, our fears, these things all require a certain amount of quiet in order to be fully understood. In the midst of constant chatter and distraction, it is difficult to process our thoughts and emotions fully. But when we allow ourselves to sit in silence, we can begin to understand the underlying currents that shape our thoughts and behaviors. We can observe our fears without judgment, recognize our patterns without criticism, and begin to understand the deeper forces that drive us. Silence can also be a powerful tool for self-discipline. In a world that is constantly urging us to act, to speak, to do, choosing silence is an act of rebellion. It is an act of reclaiming our own autonomy, of deciding that we do not need to be constantly engaged with the world around us. It is a choice to withdraw from the noise and focus on our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own needs. In a sense, silence is a form of self-care, a way to protect our mental and emotional well-being in a world that often demands too much of us. But silence is not just about what we refrain from doing. It is also about what we create. In the absence of external noise, we create the space for creativity and insight to flow. Without the distraction of constant stimulation, our minds are free to wander, to explore new ideas, and to make connections that we may have missed in the rush of everyday life. Silence allows our thoughts to breathe and evolve, to stretch into new directions that we may not have considered before. It is often in the quiet moments that our most creative ideas emerge, when we allow ourselves to simply think and reflect without the pressure to perform or to be heard. Moreover, silence allows us to be more intentional with our words. In a world that often feels like it's filled with endless chatter, it's easy to forget the power of language. We speak without thinking, react without considering the impact of our words, and sometimes say things that we later regret. When we embrace silence, we become more mindful of what we say and how we say it. We start to choose our words more carefully, recognizing that our words carry weight, that they can either build up or tear down, that they have the power to create or destroy. By choosing silence, we make room for the words that truly matter, the words that come from a place of thoughtfulness and intention. There's also an element of strength that comes with silence. It takes a great deal of inner strength to resist the urge to fill the space with noise, to sit with your thoughts and feelings without resorting to distraction. Silence requires us to be comfortable with uncertainty, with not knowing, with sitting in the discomfort of our own minds. Yet it is in this discomfort that we grow, that we learn to confront our fears, our insecurities, and our doubts. Silence teaches us to be patient with ourselves, to trust that the answers will come, not in a rush, but in their own time. In a world that constantly seeks to make noise, silence is a radical act of self-possession. It is a declaration that we are not defined by the opinions of others, by the expectations of society, or by the endless stream of distractions that demand our attention. Silence is a reclaiming of our own space, our own thoughts, and our own truth. It is in silence that we discover the clarity and strength to move forward in life with purpose, with intention, and with the confidence that comes from knowing who we are and what we stand for. Silence is not the absence of something, it is the presence of everything we need to hear and understand. When we embrace it, we unlock a depth of wisdom and insight that can guide us on our journey toward growth and fulfillment. In silence, we discover the strength to be ourselves, to stand firm in our truth, and to move forward with clarity and purpose. It is easy to fall into the trap of seeking external validation, of looking to others for confirmation that we are worthy, capable, or successful. In a world so filled with social media, constant feedback, and the opinions of those around us, it's almost as if we are conditioned to believe that our value is determined by how others perceive us. We measure our worth by the likes we get, the praise we receive, the approval we seek, and we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of pleasing others, hoping that this will fill the emptiness we feel within. But when we rely too much on external validation, we lose sight of who we truly are. We stop listening to ourselves and start living for the approval of others, creating a life that is not truly our own. The truth is that seeking validation from outside ourselves is an endless, unsatisfying pursuit. No matter how much recognition, praise, or admiration we receive, it never seems to be enough. There's always a need for more. A desire for the next compliment, the next accolade, the next form of external approval. We become dependent on others for our sense of worth, as if we are empty vessels waiting to be filled by the opinions and affirmations of the world around us. But this external validation is fragile, it's fleeting, it's conditional, and, in the end, it's not real. When we depend on others for our sense of value, we surrender control over our lives. We allow ourselves to be defined by what others think, to be shaped by their judgments and their expectations. We give away our power. In doing so, we forget that we are the ones who have the authority to define ourselves. We forget that the most important validation comes from within, from knowing who we are and standing firm in that truth regardless of what others may think or say. The act of focusing on yourself and turning inward is a radical departure from this cycle of external validation. It's about reclaiming your power, about trusting yourself, and about learning to validate your own existence. This doesn't mean rejecting the opinions of others entirely, but it means recognizing that their opinions do not define you. You are not dependent on others to tell you who you are or what you are capable of. When you focus on yourself, you learn to trust your own judgment, to rely on your inner voice, and to make decisions based on your own values and beliefs. The more we focus on ourselves, the less we feel the need to seek approval from others. We begin to realize that we are enough, just as we are. We no longer need to measure our worth by the standards of society, by the approval of our peers, or by the expectations of our families. We are no longer seeking validation from outside ourselves, because we have discovered the deep, unshakable sense of worth that lies within. This internal validation is not dependent on anyone else. It's not based on what others think of us or how others treat us. It is rooted in the knowledge that we are whole, complete, and valuable simply because we exist. When we stop seeking external validation, we also stop comparing ourselves to others. In a world where comparison is rife, where social media presents an idealized version of life that others seem to be living, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring our own worth against the lives of others. We compare our achievements to those of our peers, our appearances to those of celebrities, our relationships to the idealized versions we see online. This constant comparison breeds dissatisfaction, self-doubt, and a sense of inadequacy. But when we focus on ourselves, we free ourselves from this cycle. We stop looking outward and begin to look inward, recognizing that our journey is unique to us, that our worth is not contingent on how we measure up to others. In this process of turning inward, we also begin to let go of the need to constantly impress others. We stop seeking to prove ourselves, to earn praise, or to gain recognition for every little achievement. Instead, we find fulfillment in doing things for the sake of doing them, not for the approval they might bring. We discover that the greatest joy comes not from external recognition, but from the satisfaction of knowing that we are living authentically, aligned with our true selves. This shift in perspective is freeing. It allows us to pursue our passions, our goals, and our dreams without the pressure of performing for an audience. We are no longer concerned with how others see us because we have learned to see ourselves clearly. As we stop seeking external validation, we also become more resilient in the face of criticism. In the past, when others criticized us, it might have shaken us to our core. We may have internalized their judgments, questioning our worth or doubting our abilities. But when we focus on ourselves and begin to trust our own judgment, criticism loses its power over us. We are no longer defined by the opinions of others. We are no longer looking for approval, and so their criticism cannot touch the core of who we are. We learn to take constructive feedback with grace, without allowing it to diminish our sense of self. In fact, focusing on ourselves and validating our own existence also leads to greater self-compassion. The more we learn to trust ourselves, the more we accept ourselves, flaws and all. We become kinder to ourselves, more forgiving of our mistakes, and more patient with our shortcomings. When we stop seeking validation from others, we no longer need to be perfect. We can accept our imperfections and learn from them without feeling like we are unworthy because of them. This self-compassion allows us to grow and evolve without the fear of judgment or rejection. It gives us the freedom to be human, to make mistakes, and to continue moving forward without being paralyzed by the need for external approval. It's important to recognize that focusing on yourself and validating yourself does not mean being closed off or isolated from the world. It does not mean ignoring the perspectives or advice of others. Rather, it means being selective about whose opinions you allow to affect you. It means listening to others with an open heart, but not allowing their views to define your path. It means trusting that you are capable of making your own decisions and that you are the ultimate authority in your own life. As we move forward in our journey of focusing on ourselves, we begin to realize that the need for validation diminishes. We find that the more we trust ourselves, the more we embrace our own truth, the more we are able to let go of the need for external recognition. We no longer live to please others or to earn their approval. Instead, we live to fulfill our own potential, to honor our own desires, and to walk the path that feels right for us, no matter what others may think. The freedom that comes from focusing on yourself, from validating your own worth, is immeasurable. It is the freedom to live authentically, without the weight of others' expectations, without the constant pressure to conform. It is the freedom to be at peace with who you are, to embrace your uniqueness, and to trust that you are enough as you are. This freedom is the key to true fulfillment, because when we stop seeking approval from others, we begin to live the life that is uniquely ours, authentic, purposeful, and free. So let go of the need for external validation. Trust yourself, listen to your own heart, and live your life from the inside out. We live in a world where the noise around us is constant. Everywhere we turn, there is an expectation, an obligation, a demand. Society tells us how we should look, how we should act, what we should desire, and where we should go. The pressure to conform, to meet the expectations of others, to fit into a mold that has been created for us, is immense. But in the midst of all this, there is one thing we can control: our ability to choose our own path, to live according to our own inner compass. The key to doing this is through silence, self-awareness, and the deep understanding that we hold the power to shape our own lives. The ability to walk your own path is not a given in life. It requires conscious effort, courage, and a commitment to yourself. It requires listening to the voice within you that speaks not out of fear, not out of societal pressures, but from a place of inner wisdom and authenticity. When we take the time to focus on ourselves, when we silence the noise and allow our true self to emerge, we discover that we already have everything we need to lead a fulfilling and meaningful life. All too often we are told that we must look outside ourselves for direction, for answers, for validation, but in reality the answers are within us. The path we need to walk, the direction that will bring us peace and purpose, is already inside of us. It just requires the courage to listen and the strength to follow it. One of the most significant obstacles to walking our own path is the fear of stepping outside of the norms, outside of the expectations that have been set for us. We are taught to follow the rules, to seek approval, to adhere to the standards laid out by others. This fear of deviation from the norm is often what keeps us from truly living our own lives. The truth is that the path that others have set for us is not always the one that will bring us fulfillment. It is not always the one that aligns with who we truly are at our core. When we begin to listen to our own voice, when we focus inward and take time for reflection, we find that the path we are meant to walk is often quite different from what others have expected of us. This doesn't mean rejecting everything around us, rejecting the wisdom or advice of others. We all need guidance at times. However, it means making choices from a place of personal conviction rather than fear or external influence. It means having the courage to step off the well-worn path and forge your own way, even if that way feels uncertain at first. It is easy to fall into the trap of doing what everyone else is doing, of following the crowd because it seems safer or more comfortable. But it is in the moments when we dare to go in a different direction, when we listen to the unique call of our own soul, that we begin to experience true growth and authenticity. The pressure to conform to external expectations often leads us to suppress our own desires and needs. We become so focused on pleasing others, on living up to the standards that have been imposed upon us, that we forget to ask ourselves what we truly want. But when we focus on ourselves and listen to our inner wisdom, we start to realize that what we've been seeking outside of ourselves has always been within. It's not about the approval of others, nor about fulfilling some societal blueprint. It's about discovering who we truly are, embracing our individuality, and then walking the path that aligns with that truth. This process of listening to your own voice, of trusting your own instincts, and of choosing your own path is not an easy one. It requires tremendous inner strength. The world is full of distractions, and distractions often come in the form of judgments and opinions. When you start to focus on yourself, when you begin to walk a path that is uniquely yours, you will face resistance, sometimes from within, sometimes from others. People will question your choices, doubt your decisions, and wonder why you don't follow the conventional route. At times you may even question yourself. But it is in these moments of uncertainty that the greatest growth happens. When we stand firm in our truth, when we choose to walk our own path despite the doubt, we create the life that is truly ours. The doubts and fears that arise are simply part of the journey, reminders that we are stepping outside of our comfort zone, which is exactly where transformation happens. It's essential to remember that walking your own path does not mean rejecting others. It does not mean becoming isolated or disconnected. In fact, it is often through the process of becoming true to ourselves that we are able to connect with others on a deeper level. When we are authentic, when we are aligned with who we really are, we create space for others to do the same. We lead by example, showing that it is okay to be who we truly are, even if that means going against the grain. The more we trust ourselves, the more we allow others to trust themselves. We create a ripple effect where authenticity becomes contagious and people around us feel inspired to follow their own unique paths. Part of walking your own path is also embracing the unknown. Life is full of uncertainty, and walking your own path often means stepping into the unknown. The future is never guaranteed, and no one can predict exactly what will happen. But by walking your own path, you learn to trust the process, to embrace the adventure that life offers. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the road ahead feels unclear. Yet it is in these moments of uncertainty that we find the opportunity to grow. By embracing the unknown, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new challenges, and new opportunities. The journey itself becomes as valuable as the destination. It's about trusting that even in moments of ambiguity, we are still on the right path, because it is our path, chosen by us, guided by our inner truth. Moreover, walking your own path requires resilience. It means persisting even when things don't go as planned, when obstacles arise, and when the road ahead seems difficult. Life is rarely a smooth journey. There will be detours, setbacks, and challenges, but each challenge is an opportunity for growth. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulties. It's about facing them head-on, learning from them, and continuing to move forward. When you trust your own path, you develop the resilience to handle whatever comes your way, because you know that your journey is yours to navigate. As we walk our own path, it is important to remember that this path is not a straight line. It will wind and curve. There will be moments of joy and moments of struggle, but that is the beauty of it. Life is about evolution, about learning, about adapting to the changes that come. When we stop trying to control every aspect of our journey, when we stop trying to fit into predefined molds, we open ourselves to the fullness of life. We allow ourselves to experience life in all its depth, richness, and complexity. Walking your own path is a statement of independence. It is a declaration that you are not bound by the expectations of others. You are free to be yourself, to choose the direction that feels right for you, and to trust that no matter where this path leads, it will be the right path for you. You begin to see life as an adventure, as an opportunity to create, to explore, and to live fully. So, let go of the fear of stepping outside the norm. Trust yourself. Listen to your own voice. Walk your own path with courage and confidence, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be.